Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today on something I think you'll find really interesting.
It's a
Um,
good one.
yeah, it really is. We're looking at the cost of quitting in business.
Mm.
We've got some excerpts here from Persistence Pays, The Cost of Quitting in
Great
Business.
book.
It is. And it's got some interesting ideas, It's not all about just the money when you quit something. There are other costs too, and we're going to get into those and also just how important those small wins can be along the way. Oh,
Mm.
and how to actually like reframe failure instead of letting it stop you.
Right. That's actually one of the first things the book hits on. It's not just about money when you quit.
Yeah, like we all get that you might be losing money if you give up on a business idea, but what else is there?
Well, it's those intangible things,
Yeah.
you know, the experience you would have gotten, the lessons you would have learned if you'd kept going, and just building up that resilience. Quitting can really rob you of that, and that's growth you miss out on,
Yeah.
personal and professional growth. Ever been close to giving up on a business decision yourself?
Oh, yeah, all the time, especially when things get tough. It's tempting to just walk away. But this book, Persistence Pays, is saying there's more to it than just, pushing through and being stubborn.
Exactly.
So what else does it say about that?
Well, it brings up this concept of opportunity loss. And that's not just about like the immediate impact of quitting. It's bigger than that. Like
Yes.
when you quit, you're shutting down potential paths you could have taken in the future,
Mm-hmm.
right? You miss out on learning tough lessons, and those are valuable. Overcoming obstacles teaches you so much.
Yeah, you don't always think about what you're missing when you give up. I thought it was interesting how the book talked about setbacks. Like it argues that they can actually spark innovation.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Turning those challenges into opportunities.
Hmm?
Think about it. Have you ever had something happen in your business where you had to come up with a totally different solution? Like something went wrong and you had to adapt.
Oh, all the time. I think we've all been there. It's like you're forced to adapt and then suddenly you come up with something better.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
where the magic happens. And, that kind of leads into something else Persistence Pays talks about,
Hmm.
celebrating those small wins along the way, especially when things are hard.
I love that. You get so focused on that end goal that you forget about all the little victories you're getting. It's like
Mm,
all those small wins, they really do add up to something big.
they do. They totally do. And there's such a boost, you know, psychologically. I mean, each win chips away at that feeling of like despair or being overwhelmed, and it reinforces your commitment to your goal.
Hmm.
What are some of your small wins? Even the ones that seem kind of small.
Good question. I think it's so important to stop and acknowledge those, no matter how small they seem. But okay, let's talk about the other side of that. What about when things don't go right? How does the book say we should deal with failures?
Oh, it has a really interesting take on it. It's not even just about accepting failure. It's about reframing it completely.
Okay, I'm all yours. Tell me more. Like, how do successful entrepreneurs look at failure according to Persistence Pays? I mean,
They see it as data.
data.
Yeah. Like a chance to learn, adapt, try again, instead of a reason to just give up.
So it's not, oh, I failed. It's, okay, what did I learn from this?
Exactly. What about you? What's one failure that you can look back on now and see it taught you something important?
Ooh, that's a good one. I bet we could all tell some stories about that, huh? Those failures that turned into lessons. But we got to keep moving, I think. Persistence Pays also spends a lot of time on the importance of having a good support system.
Yeah, you really need your tribe of resilience,
Yeah.
mentors, people you can bounce ideas off of, advisors, all that. They're crucial when you're building a business.
Yeah. Like they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So do you have a good support network?
A really good question to ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't start building one, it makes such a difference.
Okay.
Because not only do they help you not feel so isolated, which a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, but they can also give you great advice and encouragement
Mm.
and just different ways to look at a problem,
Yeah. I can definitely see how that would be helpful. All right. Well, this next one might surprise you. The book talks about mindfulness.
It does. And not in that like fluffy way you sometimes hear about.
Wait, mindfulness for business? Are they talking about like meditating on a mountaintop?
Haha, no, nothing like that. And there's actually real science behind it. This stuff can reduce your stress and help you focus better.
Interesting. Okay, give me an example. What kind of mindfulness are we talking about?
So one thing is mindful breathing. It's simple, but it really works. You just focus on your breath and consciously slow it down, which helps release tension. And then there's gratitude journaling, where you take a few minutes each day to write down what you're thankful for.
Okay, that sounds nice. I like the idea of a little daily dose of positivity.
Right. And the best part is you can start doing these things today. No special equipment or anything.
No mountaintop required.
Exactly. It's all about making small changes you can actually stick with.
Well, speaking of inspiring things, I'm curious about what the book says about people who have had huge setbacks but still managed to succeed.
Mhm.
Are there any stories in there about those kinds of entrepreneurial comebacks?
Oh, yeah. Persistence Pays has a whole chapter on it. Stories about people who overcame incredible obstacles.
Okay, I'm ready for a good story. Who's someone who really embodies that idea that persistence pays off? Someone inspiring.
Well, one of the best examples is Walt Disney. Can you imagine being told your ideas are too silly and that you'll never succeed?
Oof. Yeah, that's rough.
But that's exactly what happened to him. Rejection after rejection before he finally hit it big.
Wow. It's incredible how many successful people had to hear no over and over before getting to yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, right? Like, what if they'd given up too soon?
They would have missed out on achieving something amazing. I think that's a great point. Persistence pays really drives home the idea that overcoming those challenges is where you grow the most.
Definitely. It's like each setback, if you look at it the right way, it's actually a step toward your goal.
Love that. So, listener, I have a question for you. What's
Mhm.
one small action inspired by all this that you can take today to build up your own resilience?
It could be anything, like reaching out to a mentor for advice, trying that mindful breathing for 5 minutes, or even just thinking about a recent setback in a new way. Like, what did you learn from it?
Mm. The important thing is to actually do something right.
Yes. Because remember, persistence is like a muscle.
Yeah.
You have to keep working it to make it stronger.
And all those small actions, those little wins, they add up to something big in the long run.
They really do.
Yeah.
And when you hit those bumps in the road, because we all do, you know how to reframe them, turn those failures into learning experiences.
That's where the growth happens. Like the book says, successful entrepreneurs don't waste time dwelling on failure. They use it as information so they can improve.
Right. It's all about perspective. Instead of seeing a failure as a dead end, think of it as a detour.
Okay, I like that. Like it might even be a shortcut that you wouldn't have found otherwise.
Exactly. So think about your own journey. What's one failure that, looking back, actually taught you something valuable? Maybe it helped you make a better product or understand your customers better.
It's a good one. It's amazing how those setbacks can lead to breakthroughs sometimes.
It really is. And something that can help you deal with those challenges better is having a good support system.
Mhm.
Remember how we were talking about mentors and peers and advisors?
Yeah.
They can give you great advice, encouragement when you're feeling stuck. Do you have people you can turn to when things get tough?
I think it's so important to build those connections. And don't forget about the power of mindfulness, too. Those simple things like the breathing exercises or the gratitude journal, those can make a big difference in helping you handle stress and stay focused.
Absolutely. Just a few minutes of mindfulness each day can have a huge impact on how you feel and how you handle the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into persistence pays, I want to leave you with this. If persistence is a muscle, what are you doing to train yours? Because the stronger it is, the more you can achieve.
In business and in life.
That's right. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yeah, and they really do add up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do run into those failures along the way, because let's be real, it happens to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
It's so important to reframe them. See them as opportunities to learn something.
That's where the real growth is, right?
Yeah,
The book talks about how successful entrepreneurs don't let failure stop them. They use it to get better.
totally. It's a shift in how you think about it. Instead of seeing failure as this like roadblock in your way, what if it's more like a detour?
Hmm.
Like maybe it takes you on a more scenic route
I like that.
or even a shortcut you wouldn't have found otherwise.
Yeah, that's a much better way to look at it. So what about you? Think about your own business. Is there a failure that you can look back on now and see how it taught you something?
Maybe it helped you improve your product or your marketing or even just understand your customers better.
It's crazy how those setbacks can actually lead to some of the biggest breakthroughs.
I know, right? And something that can help you deal with those challenges is having the right people around you. Remember how we were talking about mentors and peers and advisors?
Yeah.
Those connections can give you such good advice and support when you need it. And just different ways to think about a problem. Do you have people you can turn to when things get tough?
I think it's so important to build those relationships. And don't forget about the power of mindfulness, too. All those little things we were talking about, like mindful breathing or that gratitude journal,
Oh, yeah.
they can really make a difference in how you handle stress and how you stay focused, especially when things get crazy.
Absolutely. Taking even just a few minutes each day for mindfulness can have a huge impact on how you feel and how you deal with all the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into persistence pays, I want to leave you with one last thought. If persistence is like a muscle,
Hmm.
what are you doing to train yours? Because the stronger it gets, the more you can achieve.
In your business and in life.
You got it. Until next time, keep diving deep. They really do. And when you hit those inevitable failures, because let's face it, we all do,
Yeah.
it's all about how you reframe them. Like the book says, successful entrepreneurs, they don't dwell on those failures.
Hmm.
They use them as data points to learn and get better.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's so important to shift your perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at a failure as this like total roadblock, what if you saw it as a detour?
I love that.
Like maybe it takes you on a more scenic route, or you discover a shortcut you wouldn't have found otherwise.
Exactly. So think about your own journey for a minute.
Yeah.
What's one failure that you can look back on now and see how it actually taught you something valuable?
Maybe it helped you refine your product or your marketing, or even just better understand who your customers are.
It's amazing how those setbacks can actually lead to those aha moments.
Totally. And something that can really help you when you're facing those challenges is having a strong support network.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember how we were talking about mentors and peers and advisors?
Yeah.
They can offer incredible advice and encouragement and just different perspectives when you feel like you're stuck.
For sure. And, do you have people that you can turn to for support when things get rough?
Yeah. Building those connections is key. And don't forget about those mindfulness practices we talked about either.
Yeah.
Like mindful breathing or gratitude journaling.
Uh-huh.
Those can be game changers for managing stress and staying focused, especially when things get a little chaotic.
Absolutely. Even just taking a few minutes each day to be mindful can make a huge difference in how you feel and how you deal with everything that comes with being an entrepreneur.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into persistence pays, I want to leave you with one final thought. If persistence really is like a muscle, what are you doing to train yours? Because the stronger it gets, the more you'll be able to achieve in business and in life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, keep diving deep.